There is some good burst damage in the Storm. Level 3 Spike feels really good against DP. She doesn't have the biggest range, so you can kind of walk up, look for the Vortex. A little bit tough against ranged heroes in comparison to melee heroes, but something that you can still get done. So I'm keen to see how Polaris goes from there. They only really need to look for a support with good control for a Storm at this point. Lion is still up there. It's not being banned yet by Execration. They take care of the Invoker instead, so it does seem like they expect DP as a support. I still feel like that flex potential from Polaris will still come out, Mike.
Certainly so. I mean, it's definitely possible. I'm thinking as well, like if you're Polaris Esports right now and you're thinking about the mid matchup here for Lelouch, Kunkka's still there, does do well into the Storm, even though it didn't do very well last game around. But I'd say in the mid matchup, 1v1, it certainly does very well. Apart from that, though, you also have Ember Spirit, Jonathan, which I think we've seen Lelouch play quite a few times. Or if you really want to be a bit cheeky, you go into the Bat Rider as Lelouch and kind of give Bob a taste of his own medicine. We'll have to wait and see what option they do want, but plenty of options for the mid matchup that will favor Polaris no matter what happens.
Yeah, I don't think they're too worried about that. Even going down to it, you could still get Lina, you could still get Leshrac as well. Those could be good options to go into here. Leshrac, it is for Lelouch, his favorite hero, one of his best heroes. We've seen him play it in the regional finals. Maybe not doing the best, but he was standing in. With Polaris, this is something they can, work out really well. They've got set up for it with a Shadow Demon, so Disruption into Split Earth can actually still lock in your Storm if you time it right, and I'm sure Lelouch is very familiar with that timing. You're going to be able to find some hold onto the Storm just off the back of that. And they've got a lot of push now, Mike. DP and Lesh, even if that is a support DP, you get level 6 Exorcism plus Diabolic Edict, will melt a tower. So I like what we're seeing from Polaris. It's playing into this fast-paced game that they love to do. And for Execration, they went really early on with 2 cores. Sure, they're not directly countered, but they've got to find ways to control now from their supports. They will take the Snapfire you mentioned earlier. They've got Mars Snap, Cookie Spear combination really strong in lane. That could put a damper on Natsumi's initial farm. And they have a really good team fight with Arena Kisses. They can play around, fight back, get some good defense off. I still worry about giving Polaris this kind of lineup that they love to run. Like Lelouch knows his Leshrac in and out. Execration take the Ogre now. Polaris straight into the Nyx.
Wow.
So, spicy. That should be a Savius Nyx. I'm going to say a Force DP now. Or maybe even a Mavis Nyx. Like we've seen Mavis play that in the 5 a couple of times before when he was still CML. So you've got a lot of flex for Polaris to work these lanes out. You have a good way of locking in the Storm with the Nyx. That's a direct counter there with Spike Carapace and the Vendetta. I'm really liking Polaris' draft. Even without the last picks, I think they managed to work this draft to their advantage here.
Yeah, certainly so. I'm not sure about the Nyx Assassin, I'll be honest, John, but I know you love this hero, so I'm sure you're very happy to see it coming back into the, at least into this last game of this best of 2 series. Execration, though, to get some final ban outs before we can see these final picks. Both teams do need a position 1 right now, you'd have to argue, so chances are we'll see some pos 1 bans flying out. Still flexible though, you could run DP mid, you could run the Lesh into the safe lane as well. We don't know where they're going to lane yet, but I'd say, like you mentioned, Lelouch, he loves this Leshrac. Probably just allow the man to play the Lesh and maybe run the DP off instead, which is still very, very strong. Final banouts though, the Lifestealer Void being removed. 1 more for either side. You know what I was thinking earlier on, John, while we're waiting for these bans? You know, Roshan just seems a little bit too easy these days. No matter what they do, they just don't seem to be able to buff him. Well, what if in a twist of irony, what if Roshan at like, say, 15-20% health gets like Fury Swipes plus Overpower, right? Because it was the old thing. If you weren't there in Dota All-Stars, I believe that the lore behind it was that Roshan just can't catch a break with this damn Ursa bear, right? Because Ursa obviously just can Roshan whenever the hell he wants. What if Roshan had that buff, Jonathan? Like a what do they call it in those MMOs? The what timer? It's not a raid timer. It's a. I don't play MMOs, John. It's some kind of timer that kicks in.
Yeah, like a. I'm not sure either. I haven't played an MMO in a long time, but I get what you're saying. You know, like a low HP indicator, like a rage mode.
Yeah.
Like an enrage mode for Roshan. That would be
it's so
fun. I think you're a
easy.
sick man. You're a sick man, Mike. but I think that would be fun. They do pick up the Morphling closeout in Execration, so you don't really have the best forms to turn into here. You could turn into the enemy heroes. I think turning into Lash is pretty big for a Morphling. You could go standard E-Blade build. I do worry about Polaris already having Nyx, so the scouting potential with Vendetta to check where the Morphling's farming, pin him down, get the damage off, build a Spirit Vessel on Nyx as a support. You're going to have ways to keep track of that morph, so it's a good win condition. It's something Marb is familiar with. To be fair, the last times around we saw Marb playing that for IAP on Div 2 after qualifying for it in Tour 1. Didn't work out too well. So we've got to see if he's kind of shaken up here, but yeah, it's probably the only big core they had left. I think Terrorblade would have also worked out, but there's a lot of magic damage, so it's not the safest. We'll have to see if Marb can kind of kick his performance up here, Mike.
Yeah, certainly so. Morph has not looked good as of late, John. I feel like every time we see Morphling, it ends up losing. Gabby lost with Morph today. Who was it the other day? We saw SMG running Morph quite a lot in the regional finals. That wasn't working out very well. Speaking of the devil, the Ursa does come out, John. I think my idea is great. It's a rage timer. That's what it is. It's called a rage timer, I think. In rage timer, whatever it is. Man. I think it'd be amazing. Think about it, John.
It would be fun. It'd be fun.
All these Roshan fights. Imagine Roshan actually becomes a bit of a problem. Because right now, all you're worried about from Roshan is he going to bash me in the middle of a team fight? But if he had like max attack speed with Fury, like maybe not Fury Swipe, just max attack speed.
Yeah, a max attack speed would be interesting. Maybe something like Focus Fire on Roche would be nice.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting to see. Back to the draft before we get going, Mike, here, because I want to dig into that. Ursa to close out, really strong draft from Polaris. We are seeing Force on DP, so they've got a great core that can take that Roche early. They've got very fast aggression here from Polaris for Execration. They're going to have to buy time for Marb and to extent Bob to at least work into that Kaya Sanj. And that will require a win on mid, so I think you do have the strong supports here from Execration to rotate in. Snapfire Ogre can get some work done, pinning down Lelouch's Lash and contestant Runeswell. Gonna have to see that movement from Exe, but overall, this time around, leaning towards Polaris for draft and execution, Mike. Not split anymore. I think Polaris has this one with just how they played in Game 1.
No, I certainly agree with you there, and I think their draft is very, very hard to deal with here on Polaris Esports' end. Again, we've seen Morph so many times, and it's just the same thing over and over again. It just never takes off. With a greedy draft as well, which Execration do feel like they have. Like, you've got a Storm and a Morphling in the same draft. See how this one goes. It's not going to be easy, I think, for Execration, but we've been wrong many, many times before. So we'll see if we're wrong this time around.
Prepare for battle.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Of course, Execration would love to prove us wrong. They'd want a win here, start climbing up, and maybe just force some draws. Tips coming out. So back and forth with Marv and Lelouch.
There's a bit of
the Z.
Lelouch has been very, very aggressive towards Marb, I'd say. That and Bob. Bob's been surprisingly quiet as well, Jonathan, in this series so far. Go on, John. Give us the translations.
So, Force is saying, you've been left by everyone. The only one left with you is Sandra, which is S-God.
Right.
I don't know what Mavis is saying. Oh, Dawn of War. He's asking about Dawn of War. Is it time for Dawn of War now? Later.
What's Dawn of War?
By Brownout. Dawn of War, you know, the series, the tabletop game, Warhammer.
Oh.
Warhammer Dawn of War. Oh, I have no clue. Oh, no, actually, that's the custom mode, right? Dawn of War, it's a custom mode in Dota 2 as well. So I forgot that. Callouts as well. Natsu was saying, you play that, then the brownout comes out. It's not all, it's like, if only for everyone, as God's laughing. Then the callouts. It's around. Time to face for it. Alright. Alright, good to see high spirits there. They go in.
Bit of an impale into a disruption. The rare kind of mistake being made here from Polaris is they don't really communicate to set that one up properly, but it won't matter too much. Vincenzo will be able to get himself out. We'll start off with the bot lane, John. Xavius and Force going to be with each other. They'll be against Marb on that Morphling, and of course Vincenzo moving his way over on the Ogre Magi. This laning phase, I imagine, might just be very kind of passive between the two duos, but do you see any real kill potential here, John? Is there anything we should watch out for?
I think there is kill potential. If you do manage to jump the Morphling somehow, get a good stun from the tree line, have the value point and the silence on the DP, that could be a big enough window if Marb is fully agied up to actually burst him down. A lot of pressure here on Vincenzo to just cut them off, get some good damage early on. He is trading well with Xavius. Nyx Assassin not as tanky as it once was, especially, ever since PMS was taken off, it feels like support Nyx just hasn't shown up, offlane Nyx hasn't shown up. So it's going to be a bit of a slower start. But that level 3 spike for Polaris is where things can get a little bit more back and forth. Until then, Marb should be fairly comfy farming here.
It's mid lane. We've got Bob there on that Storm, who had a pretty rough game, number 1. He'll be against Lelouch once again on the Leshrac. And I mean, last game around, we were 100% sure Bob was just going to dominate that lane. I mean, it's Batrider versus Storm. How could you not? But Lelouch managed to make it work, and now on his signature Leshrac, it could be much, much harder here for good old Bob. He already just keeps his distance away here from Lelouch. Anything we should be kind of wary of here, Jonathan?
Rune control, it's probably the emphasis. I don't think Bob is going to go for the Vortex at 3, just because the range is a bit difficult to gap close. Lucius already kind of holding the lane well. They do manage to find first blood on Mavis, though.
That they do. Nice setup here from Execration to secure that first blood as Natsumi. The way he is right now is not really able to help out if they do get jumped. At least until he hits maybe that level 3, level 4 mark. So for now, Escard and Samael, they're having a very good time.
They're holding out great. They've got that aggression that can come up, their lineup, and they've got that double stun, right? It's Cookie into Spear. It's a very easy setup. It's really easy to run down. Mavis can only play so much with the disruption. He's got to be on point with the saves. But if he times it wrong, it could just be set up for the enemy team as well. And I think that's where Execration is going to look to really get a lot more. The top lane's probably their best bet. You can't afford to overextend against an Ursa, though. Fury swipes will stack up. That is one way to deal with something like the Mars. So we'll see how far they want to push it here on the side of Execration. But First Blood's already a good start, and we are seeing Natsumi just go a little bit slower compared to Marb this time around. So that is some very good news for Execration.
Oh, absolutely. Back at mid, it's been a bit of a close affair between Lelouch and Bob. CS is very even between the two, as Lelouch is going to start to take over now, but hopefully Bob still going to try and fight back, but can't do too much quite yet. I think as long as Bob does remain alive in this lane, he'll probably just be happy. You even see Lelouch already rotating into that triangle to just take the bounty rune away from poor old Bob. Does manage to take it away to boot. The creep wave by the tier 1 tower meant Bob just could not leave to try and contest that. So Lelouch just being a bit annoying here on this Lesh, and still getting away with a few extra things.
Yeah, can be happy. Does have the opportunity to go for the Vortex double overload with Staff Remnant. That is Lelouch's HP cut down in half. And Bob's kind of making some good work happen. He will need to secure his Water Rune. Lelouch will need to as well. And it doesn't look like the supports are ready to move. But Xavius is on his way down at the 4-minute mark, so there should be a little bit of fight for that 4-minute Water Rune at the bot area at the least.
Lelouch, thinking about it, does not go for the Split Earth in the end. Other Water Rune was taken as well. Xavius had to take it before it was kind of denied away here by Vincenzo, so that is going to leave the Lesh without that bottle. Bit awkward here for the Leshrac. Bot lane, Marb. Bit of an aggressive waveform in onto Force, but won't really make much of it. Speaking of Marb, though, he's having a pretty good time right now on the Morphling. Not too much contention here for the Morph, and I suppose it goes back to what I thought earlier, John. I mean, if they do land the stun into the silence, yeah, for sure, but it doesn't seem like Force has bothered to go for that value point in the silence this game. So maybe they're just not confident they can actually land that stun on Marb, and I mean, right now he's only got 460 HP for his HP pool, so it'd be a great time if they could land that stun. Strength Morphing will begin though, and Marb will just waveform out. Xavius won't even bother trying.
They're just going to play it a bit more farming lane, and that is giving Marb some breathing room, which is really what you want to see on that Morph, and considering this game went for fun. So they will go for Vincenzo though.
But they will. Impale will land, and with the Spirit Siphons out, Vincenzo is going to drop pretty low, but Force does not want to go too much further as Marb now is posturing aggressively. Force still around trying to snipe the Ogre, but Marb still going after Xavius. The end, neither support will end up dying as we'll be able to get away. Thing is, Vincenzo, he's only got a tango left. So he might have to back off as Marb now is going to find himself in a spot of danger. This Force just abusing those siphons. But it's never going to be enough as long as Marb can just strength morph.
No silence up means that the kill threat really isn't there. You are timed well here again on Xavius. He's going to try to stack. He's going to go for the 6-minute rune, the big rune for the Storm, to really get something out of this lane. But you've already got the movement out from Samiel up top. And Bob's lucky, finds the regen. He's going to be very happy in clearing out the creep waves, clearing out some camps, getting that initial farm going. And Lelouch is going to have to dig back, maybe play it safe in the jungle. Some pretty big stacks coming out from Mavis. The Shadow Demon can get that done. That is good farm for Lelouch in the end.
Samael, has he gone too far here? When he got the ward, he is going to cookie into the Roshan pit, and Roshan's not going to bash him. So he'll be okay. In the meantime, Bob's handing out tips to Xavius. Not 100% sure why. I guess maybe he missed an impel. So only one kill on the board right now, John.
Yeah, they're playing really safe. I think Execration understands the stakes. They don't want to overextend. The slower pace does feel like it's favoring Polaris very nicely. I mean, the CS, it is showing Bob above, but everyone else is kind of keeping track well. Marb is still off to a bit of a slower start in terms of creeps coming out. Morphling doesn't really flash farm too fast, and even if he does, his item spikes are a lot longer. A lot more build-up in comparison to the Ursa. Like Natsumi now with Phase Boots and Morbid Mask coming out soon. With a little bit more time, they could just go Roche. And they're still buying all the space for Lelouch to play in the jungle with the stacks. So you have a lot of flash farm coming in there. They are making moves mid though.
They are going to find Xavius. Bob picking up his first kill of the game as they can go into that tier 1 mid tower. Samael and Vincenzo around to support, but the glyph is going to be out, and well, maybe they can find another. Mavis going to move underneath some vision from the Radiant side, and they will find a second pickup here. But things are starting to roll here for Execration.
Yeah, finding that aggression they want. They are emphasizing a snowball start for Bob, so enabling him by setting up for these kills. Issue is Bob's out of mana. Can't really fight into this room.
Nice cookie from Samael onto 2, but the Pulse Nova's just doing so much damage. Still Spear is there, but Bob has gone first. Bob drops before Lelouch does. No matter how you look at it, that is a Polaris Esports win. I mean, XctN getting there just in the nick of time to at least get something for their trouble, but it's just not good enough.
Certainly not. And all things considered, as you mentioned, Mike, Polaris very happy with that. They do have to drag Natsumi out early, but he does have the Morbid Mask. I think if they find that mid-tier 1 very fast with a respawn on Lelouch, that'll just lead to the Roshan. There's already a ward on the ramp side watching for Polaris to make that play, but they've got their own ward watching that area as well. And Xavius is just kind of playing tag with Bob.
Yeah.
Could land a good stun here.
Oh, Bob. Cops us by Carapace, but the follow-up stun was not there. Not in time from Xavius. XctN did also show up to try and help out. Just being very annoying now towards Execration. Zip in is out. Bob, though, going to be very low on mana as Disruption. And now a 3-man Impel. Going to land on absolutely everyone. But can they at least get Lelouch? Yeah, they can. Scatterblast was going to be enough. It's a 5-man group up from Execration. But it may just pay off as they'll get a second pick off onto Xavius. I mean, it's a big group up. 9.5 minutes in. But I suppose you've got to do what you got to do, John.
Yep. Gotta find those kills, and they find the big kills they need. They lose their bot tier 1. Not really in a position to push, and I think that's where Execration's lineup is going to be falling flat. Taking the objectives away from Polaris is going to be a tough job in comparison to what Polaris can do. That movement does prevent Natsumi from just going for the Roche straight up, but he is still finding a lot more farm on the map while Marb is forced to join in. He's working that bot jungle well. His defusal is almost up, Mike. Just working to get the parts going. And once that's up, he can easily line up for some kills. They are still being aggressive here on the side of Execration. They got a good scan out, but they're not really able to jump in. Bob at less than half mana, not in a very good position to really get that gap close. Does have the haste. They are doing a good job of cutting off some of the stacks, taking out some of the camps up top. But the side of Polaris are nearby here.
Mavis going to just disrupt XctN and back himself out as Marb. Trying to contest the farm there with Lelouch. Bob even joining in, but doesn't want to zip in blind. Execration, they are really just remaining grouped up so early on. Now Polaris, they might want to try and force the fight. We've got a couple up top. XctN is still looking for an arena spear combo. They may try to force, but no, they missed the arena. The walls take too long to come up, and now they definitely want to force the fight. Polaris will rush for it. Bit of a sneak up here from Xavius, but the sentry ward will give vision. So neither side is able to successfully make the jump. As even mid lane, Lelouch. Mortimer's Kiss is used up, but he just walks out of there.
Yeah, that's a pretty big spell to commit. They've got the Exorcism running on force. They're going for that top tier 1 push.
They're going to try and just blow him up before the siphons do come out, and Vincenzo is very quick on the tip as now Xavius going to have to leave.
XD.
Keep in mind though, John, all these pickoffs that they're finding, it's costing them 3 to 4 heroes every time. Like, these aren't the easiest pickoffs here for Execration, and in the meantime, Lelouch and Natsumi, they are still escalating quite fast.
Yeah, they're going to hit those initial items that they need, and they're still grouped up for a counterfight here, Xavius.
Yeah, nice spear out from XctN. Been easy to bin for Bob. Natsumi this time around will try to join, but is going to get stunned up immediately. Still Lelouch going to move in, but he's quite low on mana to boot. They're still going to try and force the fight. As XctN is being chased down, but he will spear away the Leshrac. And Polaris Esports, I mean, they've reacted, but they've reacted at the wrong time. They just don't have the spells or the resources to actually lock anyone down at the moment, and well, Execration, they get away with that.
They just hit and run. They force Polaris this time to drag a lot of heroes in. And Polaris, you know, they're not finding too much in exchange for that. I still think they're using the space really well despite that. They are still ahead in net worth. Execration will go for a smoke play, so they want to keep the aggression up. They do have Arena back up on XctN. Could find a juicy target and force once more if he stays too long.
Force. Silence is there. That'll buy him a bit of time, but not long as XctN. Arena has been dropped. They've got the lockdown of the DP, but now Natsumi's moved in. Back in onto XctN, so they might be able to find an even trade. He will make it tough, though. Or even have to drop a ward just to know exactly where he's gone. Eventually, though, Natsumi, he'll be able to take the kill. So 1 for 1 on the position 3s of either side. That top tier 1 tower, it is still yet to fall. Though, what's happening mid lane? Lelouch went for a split push at the same time, and unfortunately, he does get picked off. In fact, Execration will be able to return the favor now by morphing into the Leshrac and going after that mid tier 1 tower.
And that's where the morphling really shines. Just turn into Lesh, get your own stun off, get the Diabolic Edict if you can. They don't have the opportunity to really push that mid-tier 1. I think Polaris cut their losses short. But they are finding way more kills on Execration's end. The aggression is paying off in that sense. They still need to fix their economy. They are still lagging behind a bit in farm, but not by a huge amount. And they are getting Bob to that point where he can start rolling. He has his Kaya up. BKB going to be next. Polaris, though, feeling a bit more confident. Gonna go for a smoke play, maybe looking for the Roche afterwards.
Not quite the target they wanted, though. They'll run into Vincenzo, who does break the smoke. The Impel is gonna land, and they'll just have to accept the Ogre kill. If they can get Roshan out of this, it's still gonna feel very good for Polaris Esports. I'd be surprised if Execration aren't looking to force a fight here. Even 4v5, they've got all their spells up right now. But it doesn't seem like they're going to react to this. They'll just let it go the way of Polaris Esports.
They're just not in position. They're cut off from the triangle. They're trying to play up top, building farm up on Marb. That's going to be Aegis out on Natsumi. So 2 lives up. With the defusal on the Ursa, Natsumi can just run down now, get a good use of that inhibit off, and keep them pinned down. Execration, the aggression's been coming through. They need some more on Marb. He's got the Yasha, really needs the Manta for the stats. And it's really on Bob, I think. Like, Bob's going to have to really play around with XctN's initiation. The Blink's almost done on the Mars, so you can follow through with a good arena opener here for Execration and get the kisses flying off afterwards. I think the spell use has been a bit staggered. If they can get those conditions met here for Execration, they can still put quite the wallop up against Polaris.
Yeah. Fusel Blade up now. Marb has to be a little bit more cautious. Needs that mana available and just would rather not be diffused up and slowed up. So 10 to 5. 2k net worth lead for Polaris Esports, but the kill score is going the way of Execration. Seems like Bob now wants to get involved once again. Keep in mind, they'd be fighting into the Aegis, but perhaps they could try to find a pick-off and go into that mid-tier 1 tower. Lelouch would be a great target if they could secure it. Execration might be thinking about it if they get lucky with the power room. Get a haste. Not quite what you'd want on Bob, but he'll still try and just get back to farming, I guess. They're not quite ready to fight yet, but Xavius might be with the rest of his team. In fact, the smoke up from Polaris, if they run into Samael, they'll be able to find the Snapfire, but a nice cookie TP, no, it's not going to be enough. Lelouch has the Split Earth, and that'll be more than enough to put a stop to all that TP nonsense. In fact, Ping's even out on Bob. He's underneath the Tinker Ward. Oh, look at that, John. The ward ends up paying off later on, as they'll get the Yules off. And Bob has no idea why the ward would be there in the first place. But that it was.
Yeah, they get the punishment off. They find the big kill they needed in that storm. And they're stalling out. Execration can't really make moves up mid. Force has been holding that lane quite nicely. They are buying space from Marb. And his Manta is almost done. I think he's got the goal to buy it out now. So, Manta style done on the Morphling. It's big, but he's going to have to play really well. And it still feels like the Morphling needs way more to match the Ursa right now. He just hits way too hard. He's going to get the BKB next to Natsumi. They're going to go take this top tier 1. Not the biggest objective. They can't really line up for a tier 2. Pinks are coming out from Execration to try to force an issue mid. But Force is still keeping his body there. He's got the BKB already on the DP mic. He can do this by himself. Just pop BKB, pop Exo, get the Spirit Siphons off. Hard here to kill right now.
Mid lane, defense is still going to be there though. Natsumi, TP in. Execration, they just don't want to deal with that Aegis right now on Natsumi. And I think even with the 5v5 team fight, it's still very scary to go into this dire side, as now the triangle has been taken. They'll wrap around the long way. Escort, he'd be a great target to start on, but Natsumi won't have much of a choice as he does not have a blink up yet. Escort does, however, and that'll allow him to just escape and maybe reinitiate later on, as Natsumi is still charging to try and find a target. He'll eventually run into the Ogre, but he's going to have to move into the high ground to try and make that happen. In fact, never mind. Samael gives him with a cookie. Meanwhile, on the other side, Arena has been dropped, but Disruption will buy Xavius a bit more time to try and make something happen with this Nyx Assassin. In fact, never mind. They don't even need it. Marb's gone. Escort's gone. It's already 4 down, and Samael, he was still spitting fire, but not for long, because he has been caught out by Force. How did Marb just melt, John? I didn't quite catch what happened to this Morphling.
Yeah, that was instantaneous. I think they managed to catch him out, get a good stun off, and just keep him pinned down to Xavius with that Vendetta up. Just found a good angle, not enough sentries to keep track before our Nyx is at. And they get the kill they need. Like they had the control, they had the damage, they had the silence up on Force from there. And Polaris are starting to roll now. Like they were at the kill deficit a while ago. It didn't really matter. Now they've got the lead, and they've got a 16 net worth lead on top of that point. The BKBs are going to be flying out soon for Natsumi. The Eternal Shroud is going to be up for Lelouch as well, so he's going to be hard to pin down, hard to burn down his mana. And as we mentioned, BKB on first early on, just allow him to stand in the middle of these fights, making it a lot of work to kill him off. They will find Xavius though.
They do. Xavius locked up, but Spike Carapace actually does delay things, and he's just gonna TP.
Oh,
yeah.
Goodness.
Cookie was almost there from Samael. It's Bob. That's a very aggressive zip there from Bob. They're gonna try and though go onto the Shadow Demon, but the TPs are here now. Polaris, they'd love another fight, but the TPs are just taking a very long time as Lelouch. He has the Yule Scepter, but who does he want? Wants to try and go after Escort. Looks like they've locked him down. Arena will be out. It's only going to really keep them in, as now Bob will move back in. They'll try and burst down Natsumi. They've got him. The Ursa is gone. But can you deal with the Leshrac? It does seem like Marb can, or maybe not. He's been stunned up. Oh, Xavius finds him from the high ground, and Marb was not strength morphing, John. To Samael. He'll be the 3rd casualty for Execration. It looked like a decent start. I mean, you got Natsumi, you got that Shadow Demon, but it kind of fell apart after that.
And the TPs were slow, as you mentioned, Mike, but Polaris still make it in time to get some work done. They managed to really apply that pressure back. It's just so hard to take care of Lelouch with that Eternal Shroud up. He's just so durable, and he gets a lot of mana for these team fights. He's working towards Akai Sanj next, going to be even tankier for the follow-up fights once he has that up. And yeah, you take care of Natsumi, you take care of the Ursa, he's gone. But it's just not enough, and we do have some connection issues coming out. Even Execration getting in on it as well, so some reconnects coming out. The classic that you'd expect in a Rumbulan, Mike. The Philippine internet acts up again.
It's not Philippine internet, John, it's the servers, because I've completely disconnected. And I think I saw on Twitter, Playhard was complaining about Dota lagging a lot right now, so I think SCA, not even SCA, just the whole game right now is just a bit laggy, but we'll get back into it. Hopefully we haven't missed out on anything while we've been away. Is there a pause at least, John?
There's a pause. Okay. Everyone's out. I mean, Vincenzo's back. We're waiting for Bob and Lelouch, so our mids kind of working back into the game. No big deal, Mike. Oh. It's been happening all day, right? We had those lobby issues in the first series, so it is what it is.
It's just a merry-ender break, John. That's what it is at the end of the day. Just another merry-ender break. You can never have too much merry-ender. So we do have the go-ahead from XctN himself, and Polaris, they look like they want to get this game underway as well. Polaris Esports. Maybe moving into that bottom tier 2 tower now. Be a nice gank setup here from Marb. Lelouch. He's not quite alone, but his teammates are still far away enough that they maybe could have tried to burst him down, but Lelouch is going to back off at the right time and just force the rotations out from Execration. And sometimes that's all you want. Just force them to rotate to a part of the map they don't want to be in. In the meantime, Xavius, he's scouting out. He's getting some info for his team. Pings are there though, so they seem to know the Nyx is around here somewhere as Xavius now realizes that. Sentry Ward dropped, God's Rebuke going to be missed though, so Xavius will run the other way, but the spear is going to land, so Bob, he can jump in and get this damn bug down. They will squash it. Polaris, they were smoked up. Nice kill. They were smoked up at the same time, John. Force, can have his smoke broken. But I think because of that Nyx Assassin kill, they can't capitalize from that smoke. Doesn't get the Yules off either.
Yeah, no Yules in time, so they miss out on big kill onto the Storm. They're going to be stalled out a bit, but they are working up to Natsumi's Blink. I think that's the point where you really look to force the issue here on Polaris. Just have that mobility on the Ursa, have him be able to jump up, get the damage off. Going to be working towards the Basher next after that Blink for Natsumi. And that's the point where your Ursa feels a lot better. You know, he's been having some issues jumping in. We've seen Natsumi try to chase heroes down. He's just been kited around. Really need that mobility on hand. And you still maintain that lead on Polaris. And despite losing your Nyx, you've got a 5k lead. You're well above Marb right now on both Lelouch and Natsumi. Although Marb isn't too far off. His E-Blade still being built up. Still a ways off, 1.8k until that Eagle Song's done for the burst. And now, knowing that they forced some TP outs earlier, they could try for that tier 2 bot. They do have the TPs up and running again. A choice has to be made here by Execration. Do they want to try to trade or defend?
Oh, it looks like the JohnXfire play-by-play might have... No, never mind. They all paused. We're all having the same issues at the same time.
That is concerning.
It is.
It's kind of funny when I'm the one who's okay in the server. it's just, yeah, it's not ideal when my internet's the most stable. So there you go. Well, server is choosing me. I'm the chosen one, Mike.
Very, very unfortunate for you though, John. I was about to say we might have the JohnXfire play-by-play coming out very soon, as I may have had to reconnect during a team fight, but no play-by-play for you, John. You have to stick to your analysis for a little bit longer. I know how much you enjoy casting those play-by-play. You like casting the fights, John. You like trying to take even more spotlight away from me.
God, no. It's terrible, Mike. Thank you for saving the viewers from having to sit through that again. Xavier's going to be taking point top. They're not really committing too hard here. Execration looking for the smoke rotation bot. They'll lose the tier 2. They're not going to find a tier 2 top. But they could force a good fight with some good positioning here.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Execration, they're going to try to be a 4v4 scenario as Bob will zip in with the BKB out. They just want to burst down one immediately, but disruption was there. It will still be Mavis to go down, but Force, he will chase down the opposing supports. On the Vincenzo, they're going now. Natsumi wants to deal with the Storm, but can't. He can't hold on to him, so instead Force will chase down Escort. Oh, Bob. No, he's fine. He's got an Arcane Rune. He's never running out of mana. He's just fine to continue pushing out that bot lane. So they are TPing. But Bob does zip TP away. He will make it. No way to... We're lagging again. At least everyone's lagging with me, though. So, you know... Yeah, I mean, Bob, I feel Bob right now. It is very annoying. It is very, very annoying.
Yep. That is Bob asking for a remake. Bob.
Come on, Bob. It's a bit cheeky,
He's
Bob.
asking, is it not allowed? Lily's just like, you're right. Let's remake.
So, boys, it's
Try.
It's
Let's go.
2:15 a.m. in the morning for me. We are not remaking.
Could you imagine that, Mike?
Well,
What a way to cap off the night, huh?
We've had worse, though, John. I mean, over the years of casting, we've had so many situations. It's the last game of the night. At 2-3 a.m. in the morning, something always goes wrong. Still, we're fine now, which is good news.
Natsumi farming very aggressively here.
Right, he's getting even more aggressive, John. On to Samael. That'll be a Snapfire dead. They even found the Ogre. Now Vincenzo's gone to boot, so another 2 kills onto the support duo of Execration, and it doesn't seem like Polaris can really capitalize on anything else. No real objectives for them to aim down apart from maybe the mid-tier 2 tower, but that's not going to be that easy. They're going to try anyway.
Spot Roche. Spot the Roche, though, with the illusions out from Natsumi. So they could just rush in, and Natsumi's making his way down while that mid-tier 2 is being pushed in. So they'll find a tower. They'll probably find Roshan here. They don't fully commit, but the Roche is going to be taken. And Execration aren't in position to defend that. They do have that ward watching top, but it doesn't peek into that side of the river Natsumi took. It's going to be a nice free Aegis and Shards out for Polaris. And that Shard on the Ursa is pretty damn big. Rip Shock with Rage makes it hard to pin down Natsumi. Even more to play with for Polaris.
How much more interesting would that Roshan fight have been, John, with a Rage time?
Stop. Stop.
Lelouch. Gonna find out the Ogre, still zip forward. Oh, Bob, he's got this by Carapace. Oh, that is unfortunate. You can't forget there is still a Nyx Assassin in the game, and Bob does pay heavily. As that'll be at least a mid-tier 2 tower, but you could also go up high ground and just force the buyback here from that Storm Spirit. And I think they just may. And why the hell not? Just pop everything, force him to buy back, make his life a living hell for this game number 2. Zescon trying to go in for the spear back. He is not going to get it. And look at Force. He's right in with the Spirit Siphons. And right back up. They won't get the buyback from Bob, but they still get half the tier 3 tower HP down.
Yeah, they're fine with that. They've still got Aegis. They've got a little bit more time left. They find a regen rune for Lelouch. And they're getting the Basher out for Natsumi soon. So they'll have even more control coming out for Ursa when he does jump in. More ways to keep that Storm pinned down if they get a lucky bash off. And for Execration, this game's just getting pretty tough. They've got the E-Blade on Marb. They've got some burst damage to play with on the Morphling. Issue is, most of Polaris is fairly tanky, and they still have that disruption save from Mavis anyway. So if you don't manage to burst down the Shadow Demon, anyone you jump with that E-Blade might just get disrupt saved, and that's taken out of the fight. We'll have to see if Marb can find the angle, or if he commits onto that Shadow Demon for the initial kill with a burst.
Marb. Zagimorph right now. Natsumi going to get started onto Escon, but the spear will be there. Still Xavius to follow up with the Impale. It should be enough to take down this Mars, and it will be. Marb, he has no option but to run, but Xavius will try to chase him down. Problem is they have no way to really stun him up unless you get that Yules off on Lelouch, but he was not within range. Though now Lelouch does have a blink up, so I suppose range is not going to be too much of an issue for him. But they won't mind now. They'll go up to that top tier 2 tower and just get that final outer objective.
Yep. Just go for the push, keep choking out the map. You are seeing Bob kind of get some good jumps around, clearing out some camps on the way, getting some gold going his way, trying to catch up. Not enough to change the course of the game just yet. Top tier 2 will fall. High ground defense of Execration is pretty strong. They've got Arena, they've got Kisses coming out. And again, that burst potential on Marb with the E-Blade is good. They just have to find the right angle. And you have to be cautious now. This is the moment where Polaris can just keep all the waves shoved in, make it hard for you to find some external farm, and start to slowly choke you out. They've just got the heroes to get that done. They've got the control on the lanes. Natsumi still has 2 minutes on that Aegis, and he does have the Basher. It's going to be easier for him to just jump in and find a kill. And I think for Execration now, we've got to see them execute for a good defense. They will go for a smoke, though. Maybe look for a pick-off and fight outside.
Lelouch, great target to pick off if they can get him in Arena. Spear is there. With the TP's in Natsumi, he might be a little bit too late for that outpost, and he will be. Can they fight back though? Natsumi will still just chase down Escort. Meanwhile, Force will move in onto Samael, trying to deal with him. On the other side of things, Bob still trying to make the jump in onto the Shadow Dim, but Natsumi's right behind him with the bash out, but the spear is there from Escort, and it will buy time for Bob to get out. And it's going to be a 2 for 2.
Oh god, Bob.
In fact, Marb, he'll come in for more, but Bob is going to drop around that tier 3 tower as Force just blinks in. So a 3 for 3, and I would have said it's probably, in fact, it is still more worthwhile for Execration. Considering how far behind they are, it is definitely a decent fight here for the Radiant.
Yeah, they are finding a little bit more of a bounce back there. Not enough to swing this game yet. Still a minute left for Natsumi to play with that Aegis, and they are going to have a hard time onto the high ground without their heroes, but there's no Arena just yet. Back up on Escod, so the defense is pretty hard to pull off here.
They'll go with the spear. Keep in mind Natsumi does have the Aegis, but all they're trying to do is buy a bit of time so they have that storm back up. Marb will move in with the shotgun, and that'll get the reset there for the Ursa. Only had about 20 seconds left. Escort now though with a nice spear set up, but Force is in with the Scythe of Vice and Spirit Siphons. He'll get to work. Force the BKB though. Bull whips himself and just runs out. They still are unable to get the high ground attempt going here, Polaris. Luckily for them, though, they've got a double damage rune to go back to. And unfortunately for Execration, while they were smoked up as 4, I don't think this is the time to fight for him at the moment.
No, you don't want to go into that Ursa with the DD up. He's going to be able to make short work of any one of those heroes, and he even finds a nice Paladin sword for himself, Mike. So it's Polaris' turn to smoke. They will play from the low ground, but let's see if they find a angle upwards.
Oh, jump in, Xavius. Not going to get a nice spike Carapace, but it won't matter because they've got the setup. Onto the Ogre and Natsumi. Again, onto that Snapfire. We'll take care of him as now the Hex is there. Escort could not get a BKB off in time, and he's going to drop. 3 down already for Execration with a double damage rune on Natsumi. It's not going to be very hard to just take down these objectives.
They've got the Exorcism up. They've got the Edict here with Lelouch. The objectives will just fall as Natsumi's working on top by himself. Bob can try to kind of zip in and out. He will have to watch that Spike Carapace, but there's no stopping this push. They need the Arena. They need the Kisses to be up. They can try to go for a Burst Blade with the E-Blade, and they've got the Shadow Blade here. Marb can try to be sneaky.
He can try, but I think he's going to wait out his heroes to respawn here. Could be the final team fight for Execration if they're not too careful. Bob will zip in. BKB is there, but Natsumi again going to work. Bob's got to be very cautious. The bashes are flying out. Onto the Morphing they go with the Hex out in the Split Earth. They've got him. Marb is controlled up, and he is gone. Down for 70 without buyback. Polaris, they'll get right back to the racks. But this should be Megas to come out for Polaris Esports. Unless they're not aware the Morphling has bought, or rather, not died back, but just doesn't have the gold for buyback. Xavius. Don't have the Impel. Lelouch looking for that follow-up stun. Does pump fake. Eventually misses anyway. And I don't think they realize this Morphling does not have buyback. As Polaris have backed off. They'll wait out the final lane of barracks.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to rush. It is going to give Execration a little bit more time to farm up. They've got 2 lanes of super creeps, not worth as much here for them to clear out. They're 22k behind Polaris. Polaris has a firm grasp on the map, and they're going to have a Scotty up on Natsumi soon, so some of that healing coming out for Morphling not going to do as much anymore. With a Scotty up, even more slows for him to play with the inhibit on the defusal. And make short work of any hero that oversteps. Bob just trying to shove what he can. Has managed to TP out in safety. But you're lacking some options here for Execration. You can't go outside. You could try for a smoke play. There's some really good wards from Polaris to watch the entrances of the base. They might know what's up if you do overstep on that smoke just a bit. And they managed to finish up this Bloodstone on side of Polaris. They did smoke. Might have been under vision considering the laning wards, but let's see if they find an angle here from Execration.
Jump in. Oh, the spear doesn't land. Mavis, he's going to get the Glimmer Cape off. Escort forced the BKB, but it's a very awkward team fight thus far. Execration just trying to get this Mars out of here, but Natsumi will just chase him down. No buyback available. As now you got Lelouch chasing down Marb. Can they catch anyone else? Oh, it doesn't seem like it. Vincenzo, he's going to be okay, but Natsumi still chasing down. His force will blink right in that tier 3 tower. With all the damage. Oh, never mind. Lelouch, he's in. No messing around from Polaris. They will clean up another. Oh, Bob, he gets caught. No. Side the Vices there. Force with a quick reaction. That's going to be another. Bob has buyback. I'm just not sure if it makes a difference at this point. They might just call it.
Yeah, they're holding on for a little bit more. The racks will fall. Megas will be up. The tier 4s are open for the taking here on Polaris. No exorcism left, but they have the edict. Just make short work here.
Oh, that's a great impale. Xavier's finding 2 targets, and well, now Bob does buy back. I'm not sure why it's so late. They are going to move in one last time, but Natsumi immediately bashing up Samael. And Bob, well, he gets the Nyx Assassin, but it may cost him his second life. He does zip away in time, but no, they're going to dive the fountain. Natsumi's having none of that. An ultra kill out for the Ursa to end off this game. Maybe a rampage if they get it in time, but Escort is going to run for his life and not allow it. Still, Polaris, they'll get something even better than the rampage, John. They'll get a 2-0 victory over Execration to finish off the night.
Yeah, positive for Polaris. They managed to make work, really strong work in that game. In the 2 games, really. They have a great execution coming out. They play really well around their timings. Lelouch delivers the goods from the mid, keeping Bob down, forcing a lot of rotations in this game. We saw a lot of good work from the supports of Polaris as well, like Xavius with the plays, scouting around with Nyx, forcing a lot of resources onto him. We saw some trades out from Execration there, Mike. Not enough to win out, and Polaris does come out as the better team. So Execration are going to have to look for that win elsewhere.
Yeah, certainly so. With that though, Jonathan, I think we'll call it a night. Of course, there is going to be more SCA Dota action going on tomorrow. And for once, Jonathan, I am prepared to read out the games that are going on tomorrow. Because SMG and White... What is it, John?
It's not tomorrow. It's on the 22nd. We're on a bit of a short break as I believe the regional finals for the other 3 regions will happen. And BTS will be handling EEU. So this is on the 22nd, but please proceed, Mike.
Oh. Turns out I'm not very prepared, ladies and gentlemen, but still, on the 22nd of February, we'll be back for some more great SCA Dota. T1 against Polaris, that should be a pretty hype matchup. Of course, OB Neon against SMG and Lil Gun against Orca. But like John said, we've got to wait roughly 5 days. Luckily for us, though, I believe a patch is due somewhere within that 5 days, so hopefully it comes through, and hopefully a big patch comes through, because my god, we need some big changes. With that though, it is MLP Dota, it is JohnXfire, and it's been a pleasure. We'll see you all next time.